Welcome to our webinar and audio here. Today, I'm Coach Brian. I'm going to be going over better balance, better you. So we're going to be looking to create a lot more lifestyle and behavior changes in a really positive way, talk about all sorts of different things. Now, who am I? I've actually been in the health coaching space, personal trainer, gym owner for 20 years now. I currently help people in a remote way. I talk to them over the phone and help them better understand how to navigate, manage their lifestyle. A lot of weight loss. There's some digestive issues. There's chronic illness. I have some marathoners that are getting ready to do Chicago here, 2 of them. So there's a lot of opportunity of touching people every day and improving their everyday life. And I'm going to share the screen. And if you're on the audio, there's obviously not. It's just the audio end of this. Let me pop this up and we will get started. All right. There we go. Excited to get going. The chat box is open. The more that you chat, the better experience that everyone has here, me as well. So ask questions, engage, and let's learn a lot about how to improve your life. So today we have better balance, better you. The whole goal is to balance all these things that are happening in our life. We have a lot of outside stressors. We have a lot of internal stressors. We have a lot of things that show up in your everyday life that challenge you in all sorts of different ways. Finding balance in our immediate instant gratification world is rather challenging these days to navigate that. Even I got a new iPhone this last weekend. I'm going through and learning new settings to better utilize my phone in the best way I can to have it work for me rather than constantly have it, distract me in a sense. Not having notifications pop up and turn on my screen and light it up is a really easy feature to find more balance in that. Today, we're going to go over just the overviews of finding that balance, what productivity is, time management, multitasking, overworking, setting priorities. I'll try to share a bunch of different types of examples as well with clients that I have worked with and how it's been super duper helpful for them to stay on track. Overview is better balance for you. Life is coming at us 100 miles an hour and it's only going to keep getting busier. I'm 41. I have 4 kids. Oldest is now in high school and 3 in middle school. The amount of time demands that are on the schedule now are pretty serious. My wife and I are constantly trying to stay organized, knowing who's going where, when, and how we're going to be picking up our kids or dropping them off or whatnot. And it's just full go, all in speed. So we've got work, family, friends, appointments, we've got bills to pay, we've got places to go, things to do, and even your to-do list needs done. You can't make the responsibilities go away. That's just part of what they call adulting. It's just here. As soon as you leave your parents' home, you kind of get slapped upside the head of what adulting actually looks like and is. So we have to figure out how to prioritize and order these so you actually get something accomplished in your day and you're not just constantly doing busy work, because busy work will not allow you to actually accomplish the main things that you need to do to help with improving just your overall lifestyle. So there's lots of ways to find time management to be more productive, less stress, and more fulfilling. We'll be going through that today. Now, common themes are planning in advance, of course. We also want to prioritize your health. If you aren't taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others or other things at near the capacity because you just can't keep up. I talk to people all the time. Yesterday, I talked to a guy who's 365 pounds that had knee surgery in one and a torn ACL in the other. He just can't move. He can't function. He can't do his everyday stuff. Even if he wants to think he can, he literally is getting held back. We avoid things that hurt rather than help, like multitasking. You cannot multitask. It's just part of what it is. We'll go over that in a bit. Being present and focused is so challenging these days, especially with the phones being in our hands on person all the time, getting notifications buzz on my phone, my laptop, my watch. Everything keeps engaging and sending me interruptions basically into the day of whatever I'm doing. And oftentimes you don't stay focused and can easily derail and go down a rabbit hole in a sense, especially say social media. Super easy to go down a rabbit hole there, even to the point where I have a newsfeed blocker on my laptop so that it doesn't, if I'm on, which I'm rarely, I usually just do it on my phone, but if I'm on there, it blocks the newsfeed and really helps keep me from getting distracted. Then there's ways to measure and assess how productive and successful you actually are. So how do we actually become more productive? Getting more done with less time, less energy, less ability. There's a lot of modern things these days like our phone or technology, but again, that also serves against us as well. What is productivity? It's the relationship between quantity and quality of output. Your ability to move things forward. So in my ability and my service with people, my ability to create impact in someone as quickly as I can, answer a lot of questions, get a lot of the things that they have questions on, like what do we eat, when do we eat, how do I eat, how many calories, what do I do with exercise, how do I how do I break some habits and behaviors. The faster I can answer those questions, the faster they get more on, say, autopilot, or I like calling it middle gear, ability to be able to balance out the day-to-day stuff of life and keeping things moving forward. That really is helpful in keeping people moving forward and being productive. So we want to keep resources, whether it's time, labor, physical product, resources like that, money, to be less and keep quality of output up. Now, high productivity means accomplishing more with the same amount of resources or achieving higher output in terms of volume and quality for the same output. Again, going back to my business of serving people, I can have a group course and help more people in a way to improve their health and body, but I've chosen to do it one-on-one, and I've set up systems and processes and emails and different things to allow for that to do some of the heavier lifting. So I myself am not constantly having to do the same repetitive work over and over. So like automation. So what is productivity? Well, benefits of it come from just producing more. You're more efficient, you're more effective, the quality stays high, and there's less errors and less resources used and available. So just production just keeps going and going and going, and it's very effective, efficient. You're able to accomplish more. You have, not only for you yourself, you have a greater level of accomplishment, of growth, whether it's personal development, in your professional development as well. You feel like you're able to get things done. I know that in a weekend, if I have created more so my own honey-do list, I want to check these boxes off. So there's a couple things I've done. I've fixed up the pool. I've done some things with the hot tub. I've had to replace a mailbox. Someone ended up running it over. And I've been able to do a lot of these things because I've been able to be effective, efficient, and they're fixed now in a sense and working. That also provides less stress if I can seamlessly check boxes off and move things along. I'm able to feel more productive myself, less pressure, and it alleviates this mounting ability to be overwhelmed. Overwhelm is a really big thing, and which leads to less burnout. Efficiency improves your ability to cope with the demands of being more productive, and you have less workout, burnout, less exhaustion, less overwhelm, less anxiety, less depression. All these things can be a result of just being and feeling more productive about yourself. What are some life hacks? These are going to be pretty obvious here, but we're going to point them out anyways. Creating a schedule. You have to efficiently and effectively block time off in your day-to-day. Would love to see in the chat box who does that, who actually prioritizes different chunks of their day to do different things. Obviously, you are all at work now, so you prioritize time for that, but how about in your personal life? Have you prioritized and scheduled time for the gym or for a walk or doing some physical activity? Because we know what gets scheduled gets done. If I'm talking with a client, I'll literally have them stop and put things on a calendar, put alarms set, or do things to make sure that it actually happens and it's not just talk or rhetoric around someone saying they're going to do something. My job is to get them to do the things they know they need to be doing and making it easier for them to do it. If you look at your schedule, you can see what's important to you, what's a priority to you. Every week I block out time, I schedule time with my buddy to come work out. We get 4 to 5 workouts most weeks, every week, unless we're out of town or something, or just work gets a bit overwhelming. But these are real thing. Looks like our Q&A box is open. Now, the problem with this is I have to actually stop sharing. Let's do this real quick. So chat's disabled. So, yep, Q&A is open and available, so you can certainly hit that. I've asked about getting chat open on a couple of times ago, so we'll see how I can do that in future ones at the very least. So let's jump back in. So you can put some questions into that Q&A box. That'll be great of things that come up here for us. So I'll be paying attention to that. Next up, sleep. Are you scheduling your sleep? Right? You're just not like randomly going to sleep at whatever time you fall asleep, but actually having enough time allocated in your schedule to lay in bed for at least 8 hours. That's really important to even allow the ability to get an average amount of 8. 7 to 9 certainly will keep you well rested and focused. As we get closer to 6, you're going to be relying on caffeine quite a bit more. If you're under 6, things are going to start breaking down. You're going to lack focus, clarity. You're not going to be productive. You're not going to have the motivation or willpower or desire to do or accomplish things. Procrastination will be a big thing as well. You'll just do less. Even in, say, a client that's trying to perform better or lose weight, the less sleep they get, the more it's going to impact their ability to lose weight. One, you're literally up longer. There's more opportunity to consume food and calories. Your body is in overdrive in a sense. It's putting in overtime because it's not rested and refreshing its systems every single day. And that's what we have to do as humans. We have to have that rest period. We can't just stay up endlessly all the time. Eat healthy. Consume food. Balance. Whole meals, whole foods, proteins, vegetables, fruits, starchy carbs, healthy fats. Oftentimes, again, not scheduling time to go to the grocery store to actually prepare some level of food to be available in your house allows for breakdown. There's challenges. You hit roadblocks on having good food that way and being more productive. Even lunchtime, you should be packing your food and taking it with you and eating what you pack so that not only you're more time efficient, effective, you can also move on your lunch break to get the blood flowing, get your brain, get the disconnection from your workspace and go do something else for 20 minutes or so and get some blood flowing. You'll come back and your second half of the day will be a lot better, a lot more clarity and focus for that. We have to limit distractions have to really disable notifications, and even people coming to your office or your desk. You have to be really good at discerning what's important right now versus what's being delegated or scheduled later. You just can't just stop what you're doing to help someone else immediately, unless it is, say, a fire burning type situation where you absolutely need to go all hands on deck at that moment. But oftentimes something can be pushed off and scheduled to later day when you are done with what's important to you and your important work to help them with theirs. Now, I'm not in an office setting, but I am constantly engaging with people, and I schedule things appropriately to be able to engage with my clients at the right times. Keep clean. Clutter is overwhelming. Clutter creates anxiety. Clutter will mentally run you into a wall. That's just the way it is. Keep your desk clean. Try and keep your house clean. Keep the different spaces, your car clean. When we do that, you can just literally feel better about what's going on in your everyday. So time management. How do we actually make the most of the only thing that we all have is time? Everything else is up for debate on what's important, or what, like money or finances or relationship or any of this stuff. The hard truth is time in a human existence that we all live. So time management. Now, the average person, this is the breakdown. If we have, you're ideally spending 7 hours of sleep on average. Then we have, sometimes it's less, or more often it's less and more. Then we have work time full. I generally, in the school year, I'm more like 6 to 7 hours of sleep, whereas in summertime, I'm more like 7 to 8 hours. It's just, there's too much going on with 4 kids in a house and being self-employed. I can make it a priority to be in bed and have time. I function quite just fine on 7 hours of sleep on average. I sleep pretty hard. I go all day. I hit the bed. I'm out in minutes. That's not a problem for me to get to sleep or even stay to sleep. Outside of drinking too much liquid, that always catches up to me, and I have to get up like I'm 80 or something like that. So now work time. Most people are spending 8.5 hours per week, and even potentially 5 hours on the weekend. There is one lady, Kathleen, that I work with. She is a higher level management, and she has so many meetings in the week that she often has to work in the evening, or she has to work on the weekend to play catch up and get her work done, which is really challenging. So there's a lot of big chunk of time on just work, like making a living, earning a living. We have leisure time. Most people are spending upwards of like 2 to 3 hours on a TV or on their phone. I've been really trying to pay attention to my son. He is just gotten a phone. He's 15 now, so he has access to a phone on a regular basis, and I'm heavily monitoring that, and I'm putting limitations on his ability to be on the phone for a long period of time, so that he doesn't just spend like his whole life on it. It's really easy for all of us to just spend way too much time in a screen and not actually out living the world and experiencing it. We're socializing with people 30, 40 minutes a day, and that ends up being your leisure time. We'll get some outdoor activities, or we'll do some things in the backyard or around the house, but that's it. Then if you have, I know for Apple, there's a screen time function in the systems that you can turn on and start tracking how much time you're spending on your device. I'm sure Android phones have a similar ability to monitor that. It's really important to see what are you doing and where is your time. majority of my time on my phone is spent in communication, talking to people for a living, and then texting them. I'll spend sometimes like 20 hours a week in text message and texting, engaging with people as part of my service to help get them the results they're looking for. So I'm constantly answering text messages, which is fine, because if, like I said before, if I can get this person the answers they are looking for in a really effective, efficient, and way that makes sense for them, they'll have way more success, and ultimately they'll need my help less, which is the whole goal. Make people independent around taking care of themselves. Start to keep track of where you spend your time. So that's what those apps, the screen time will do. There's different technologies and apps that can do it. You can limit the amount of time that you have on devices as well. Now, how do we pay attention to this and actually evaluate this time? Certainly you could write it down and track it and see it tracked in the app itself. Are there certain tasks that are constantly getting interrupted and you aren't effective or efficient with? Are you spending your time appropriately, or are you trying to multitask and do multiple things? Are you wasting time? Every single person is wasting time. People are busy, I get it, but everyone has accessible time that they're not using wisely enough. Wasting time is a real thing. Everyone does it. Even people that say they're super duper busy and they work 15-hour days or something, they're still wasting time. It's there. All right. Be reasonable. A big hack that you can do is being reasonable with yourself. Patience is a virtue. Only in the last 50 to 80 years has patience been drawn thin. The responsiveness, the on-demandness, the challenges that you need to do and make are of high demand, and that forces you to just push your pace. Whereas if you were born even 100 years ago, the expectation and the lifestyle and what happened in a full day, a 24-hour time frame, would change. Whether it's good or bad, I think it's leading to a lot more stress for people in this day and age. So you have to make sure you have some patience about the process. Even in weight loss, I'll have people in weight loss that want to lose weight right away. Well, if you're 30 pounds overweight, it's not going to be 30 days. It's not even going to be 60 days. It's going to be more like 90 to 120 days at minimum that you should have an expectation to be able to lose that weight effectively, efficiently. Yes, it is longer than you want to wait, but also the most obvious point is why did you gain it in the first place and allow those 30 pounds just to slowly come on? Because it did. You were taking actions that caused weight to come on, and then we need to get it off. And so we have to reverse those actions, unwind the issues, and create better solutions for you to, say, lose weight in that specific example. We want to set realistic deadlines. Access your ability to manage your time well, but do so against reasonable expectations. If I can't tell you how many times people need 2 days, not 1 day, to do a specific task in a sense. And they have this ongoing pressure to hit this deadline, but it was never appropriate in the first place. More often than not, if you allow a deadline to, say you do set a reasonable, realistic deadline, it's important to abide by breaking that down and working backwards how to effectively solve that. So if you have 2 weeks of time to, my kid, do the book report at school, he should be working on that small chunks of time to whittle it down, and it'll be ready without having to do a last minute 1 or 2 day cram to get it done. That's just human behavior. We wait till the last minute to do things, and that's just poor planning ultimately there. Celebrate success. I always open up my phone calls with successes of things that we are doing to improve your your solution-seeking mindset and ability. That's so important in this process of being better balanced and acknowledging successes for what they are and what the work you're putting in and the process and the progress you're doing. It helps and keep you motivated, focus on progress. Now, to-do lists are the obvious thing to help start this off. If you get the things out of your brain and onto paper, you're able to then be able to get things more accomplished. Even at night, if you write the things that are swirling around in your brain that have your brain overactive when it should be going to bed, if you write it down, you can ease the subconscious mind to say, hey, I can do this tomorrow. I can think about this and I don't have to think about it now. I've gotten it out and I've kind of checked off that box of like, okay, I'm working on a solution here. I don't need to spend right at midnight laying in my bed trying to find a solution. So it frees up anxiety and distractions of always thinking about things that need done or worrying about things that need done. It clears out noise from your head. There's so much going on internally, and then we have so much coming externally to you that is really fatiguing and challenging for you to ultimately be successful long term and not distracted. So you're able to get your body, your mind moving in the right direction. Allows you to plan out a day or a week or prioritizing, most importantly, the things that need done first and foremost, those most important tasks. Those are the things you want to spend your time on, not the busy work. That will just take up more time and not necessarily move your needle along the way. Take advantage of idle time. I like to call it net time, no extra time. I've learned this through a lot of other people too. But net time is whether you're commuting, if you're a passenger, if you're on a train, a subway, there's idle time of folding laundry or doing dishes or different other tasks where you can multitask. Those would be the best times to actually multitask, when there's a low brain and like brain wavelength activity to do, like folding towels and laundry. You can do something that's more mentally stimulating and think through some of these situations. Oftentimes I use YouTube a significant amount to troubleshoot, problem solve, and create better outcomes for myself. So recently, just with the update, as I said, looking for different hacks and different trade-offs to optimize my phone battery, because that's the one thing that really is challenging. And then the second one being get my phone to work better for me, because that's important, because I use it every single day. I need it, the functionality to be really just go with the flow. Creating a to-do list helps you prioritize that, responding to emails, texts, calling people, talking to them, engaging, being social that way, meditating, relaxing, listening to music. Certainly we could do like screen time, like social media or TV, but that's not quite what this is about. This is about still being productive with that idle time. So hit up the Q&A box here. Let's chat. What are some other activities to do with idle time for you? So for me, another idle time is waiting for my kids to get out of school. For a long time, when my kids were in preschool, I had this buffer window. I had to get my kids by 3:15 because that's when they would start charging for what they called aftercare. So just child watch after the school hours. I would get to the preschool at 2:30 to go run for 30 minutes to get back by 3:07, 3:08. That gave me enough time to go check them out of school. They wanted to play after school anyway, so I would be standing there from 2:55, 3 o'clock until 3:10 or 3:15 as they played in the playground. So I would go run beforehand, and I always called that a buffer zone because nothing productive was really happening in that time frame anyway. So I just squeezed activity into that. I would run to this metro park we have that's called the Gorge. This giant dam that had a waterfall. I would run all the way down and run all the way back, and it was approximately 30 minutes. A really enjoyable thing that I would do all the time, and I'd squeeze it into the day. So those were something I did. Now the other question here, hit up the Q&A box. How do you think these activities would be beneficial? So in that situation, it was beneficial for me to work on my fitness, burn some calories, take a break in the middle of the day, be able to focus on my kids when they got in the car. I'd have 1, 2, or even 3 kids at a time going to that school when we did it. So, all right. Taking a break at lunch. If you're working a 9 to 5, you have lunch break, and you have some break periods. You are not enslaved labor. You're allowed to take breaks, and it's really important that you do. The only person that would work through the lunch break would be the owner. They're the one that it always relies back on. But for you, if you're not the owner and you're just part of the team, an employee, you should definitely be taking lunch break and using that time to move along some different things for yourself. I love obviously eating a good balanced meal, but also moving. Not necessarily sweating, but getting out for a walk. If the gym time was lunchtime, then yes, please stack it right then, because that'll be an undistracted time in your day that you can set aside to go do a 40-minute workout and be right back on the clock in no time. Have a light, easy lunch afterwards. Nearly 20% of workers worry that their bosses won't think they're working hard enough if they take a regular lunch break, while nearly 90% claim that doing so helps them feel refreshed and ready to go back to work. That's the thing here. It really does make a difference on your productivity and long-term success. Taking breaks increases your ability to get work done. You don't have that midday slump around 3 o'clock that everyone does. You're less likely to eat snacks. You're less likely to go home and just have this rolling fatigue wave and hunger crave wave go through, and you end up just eating a bunch of stuff that you don't want or need even when you get home, because you're just like mentally exhausted. And oftentimes it has nothing to do with physical exhaustion. It's just your brain's tired. You didn't give it any break because it has to. There's just people have to do this. All right. Multitasking. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let's see. Only 2.5% of people are effective at multitasking. It keeps you less organized. You struggle from switching from one task to another. It takes a little bit of time. They always say it'd take, one disruption could take 10 minutes to get back on track. That could be true if you have a hard enough task that you have to do. So someone's interrupting you as you're working in work mode, and they knock on the door and start asking you to help them in their situation. You getting back into the mind frame and the flow of where you're at in that process could take a longer than you want it to. So it's just a reality. And going from one task to another is just an inefficient use of your time. You just blur details that you might not remember or think through. And you're not as focused because you might be thinking about the last the process that you did, or it might be thinking about the thing that's coming ahead of time, which is not helpful. You need to be present and focus on what's happening right now. So we go back to, how do we prevent multitasking? Well, make a list again. Prioritize the most important things in your day. Get them done early, because life stacks responsibility as you go. It's just the truth. Life is challenging. and it will get busier as the day goes. Limit distractions. Try to remove all potential distractions that may prevent you from staying focused. This includes your phone. If you don't need your phone, you'll turn it off at work. That would be really effective to just completely block off this huge, massive influence over your everyday life. Bookmark it. If you are going to switch from one task to another, take some quick detailed notes on where you're at in the process so it quickly gets you right back up to speed and you remember what you needed to or the thought processes that were happening in that moment. That's a really important way to go about from switching tasks and not trying to think, oh yeah, I'll remember. You won't. There's just too much going on. Now, overworking, sometimes less is more. That's a real thing. We are definitely in an overworked capitalistic society these days that strives on productivity and increased production and more profits, and that's a real thing. Now, it certainly has its advantages to a better life in general overall. I think all of us on this webinar are living like kings and queens would have 500 years ago. We're living way better than they are because of the ability of productivity and work and the process of where we've been able to get ourselves as a species. But we're also burning out at a much higher rate. A lot of 40% of Americans are overweight or obese, and that's causing significant health issues that are then impacting your everyday life. From exhaustion, stress, burnout, you're just not healthy, you have medicine that you would rather not take. Now, sitting or standing for prolonged times can be challenging. You see in the image there, just someone kind of slumped over, leaning in, and the ergonomics of her chair and seated position are not the best. I've done ergonomic presentations too. We would want the knees at a 90-degree bend, not at like 120 or so. I love standing, but as you can tell, I've been shifting, and I put my foot up, and I put my foot up, and I keep shifting around to put my body in a different spot. I'm also very used to doing standing. I don't really like to sit at all, to be honest. I feel like I get old when I stand up. I'm like, oh man, this is not pleasant. But you want to definitely have like a stand-up desk that can go up and down. Depending on the tasks at hand, you could stand up or sit down. Those are real things. Now, if you signs you need a break, if your body and your brain are like, hey, you have a headache, there's dizziness, body aches, blurry vision, you're daydreaming, you're stuck off looking at the bird flying over the head right now or so, your lack of actually being able to get things done, it definitely means that you are grinding the processes inside and not actually accomplishing anything worthwhile. So how do we actually stay more productive? As we've done, schedule, having small chunks of time here and there. They have this thing called the Pomodoro timer. It says 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest. That will give you 10 minutes and an hour to just be able to like downshift to then be able to go upshift. That would be a really easy way to manage your time and energy. Limiting distractions, having literally put a sign on your door or your desk, like, I'm unavailable until this time, right? I will be back at this time. That would be ideal to help people know and understand, or having your email have an autoresponder or something, or I'll reply to you at this time or whatever. Prioritize your time. Again, morning is going to be way more productive versus later in the day. Unplug. Turn off. Stay focused. Minimize the blue light in your devices. All my devices have True Tone. My cell phone can get pretty darn dark when it's in the evening or at nighttime. I turn on dark mode. I have True Tone on. I have it, reduced white point, so it really doesn't shine a lot. I even have color filters on, so it can be a grayscale in a sense, and not just full of color and full of brightness. That's really helped me be able to manage my technology better. So what are some priorities for you and how to decide what actually is important? This screen here I've actually shared with my clients all the time, especially my go-getters and heavy producers. We'll go with the right side. Josh Kaufman suggests making a list of the most important tasks to start the day. The story of the successful entrepreneur. He's in his retirement. He's someone's interviewing him, and they ask, "What made you so successful?" And he went and grabbed this giant stack of index cards and just had 3 things on each of them. Those were the 3 things that he decided he needed to do to be most productive in his everyday life. And therefore, he was able to then accomplish a lot more in a shorter time because he wasn't wasting time trying to decide in the moment of what was important. He already knew because he thought it through and stayed organized. So if you made a list of the 3 most important things, you got them done before noon every day, you're going to quickly leaps and bound your old levels of productivity, but even people are going to notice, wow, this person just gets stuff done. Now, the 7 habits of highly effective people, Stephen Covey, urgent and important. That's the number one thing that gets done now. Those urgent, those important tasks need done right now. If it's urgent but not, if it's important but not urgent, you can block time off. Easy example, someone comes up and asks you for your help and insight. That's important, but it doesn't have to be right then and there and causing you to disrupt what's happening for you. You can simply say, "Hey, I have time at 4 p.m. today. Can we check back in on this?" And then you've delegated it to a different time of day, and then you can set resources of time and focus aside for that. That's probably one of the most important people that don't do. They just jump right into the important things regardless of whatever was urgent and important for themselves. Urgent but not important. Who can you put that off of on? What's urgent but not important? We want to delegate it. And then what's neither urgent or important? We want to remove. We want to get out of the process. Okay? So that's something that you just don't want to do. You just don't need to do. It has no impact or influence on you. And so it's busy work. It's things that just don't make a big difference. So prioritizing effectively. Create deadlines, review your goals. Create deadlines, review your goals. Check in periodically so you stay on track. Oftentimes you have 6-month reviews or so, and those are exactly that. Reviewing, here's where you're at, here's what's going on, and have an actual just real conversation about the process and productivity of the workspace in an easy time to share and help manage. We have another Q&A. So who decides what's urgent or important? Hey, that's an awesome question here. What if opinions differ? That's a really, really challenging question. It depends on, first I would say superiority. That would be the first thing that I would say. Is if someone is of higher rank and importance, you might have to jump ship and do whatever is important and urgent for them. And you have to then prioritize other time in your day and reshuffle things. That would make the most sense on that. But if it's somewhat of an equal status, in a sense, that's when probably delegating it, just being real, but hey, I'm really working on something right now. I have about 2 more hours. I need to accomplish this. I can help you at this time of day. And then as long as you openly communicate and then you actually show up and you deliver and you have solutions and you're helpful, I think any coworker would value your time, respect that type of response in that situation, and you're, say, being a team player as well. So I think that would be it. But if you had those urgent and important tasks that you needed to do because there's a deadline that you had to show up for and have something produced for, then you're going to need to, say, do that yourself. So and decide what's important there. We'll get back into share. Hopefully that helped answer that and discern if that was a good idea for you to shift that. Now, back on here of prioritizing effectively. Acknowledge how much time you have to accomplish the task. If it's going to take a week, make sure you have a week, not 3 to 4 days. Okay? Make sure that you openly communicate the time that it's going to be to anyone that needs to know. And don't set yourself up for failure from the get-go. If you do that, then you're going to be overly stressed, overly anxious, and likely not necessarily be productive in getting results, and which leads to just not feeling good or not doing good. You'd always rather overschedule and then get it done and over-deliver. That's always a great way. Hey, I'm going to have this. It's like when Amazon says it's going to come in 2 days and it comes the next day. You're like, woohoo, I love Amazon. But if Amazon takes 3 days and it was going to take 3 days, but they said 2, you're like, boo, Amazon, right? So we want to make sure we have that. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully this was impactful for you with understanding how to prioritize what's most important to you. Your health is most important. Your mindfulness, your brain, your body, your energy is most important no matter whatever the situation that you're in. You need to take care of yourself to be able to take care of others. That's so important in this game of life. Is so many people are self-sacrificing unnecessarily to do busy work. You know, literally it's what some people do is like they sacrifice so hard on themselves to accomplish, say, the business agenda, and they'll work 60 hours a week for 40 hours of pay, and they're burnt out and they're struggling and they have home issues and problems and different things because of the situation that they're allowing. So I hope that this was super helpful for you. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, you can definitely put them in the comments and the Q&A. Be more than happy to answer some of those. So really want to thank you for your time today.